Hello and welcome back. I'm People Joe and this is Work as Resources Soviet Republic. This is the Peninsula to Island Challenge, also known as Season X. We are almost 45 years into this republic. We are close to 45,000 citizens, and if you've missed any part of anything that happened in the first 55 episodes, don't worry, we're going to recap it really quick so you are up to snuff for number 56. What is the Peninsula to Island Challenge, Bibojo? And I'm glad you asked, because it's very simple. We have this map, St. Bernard, that's in the workshop, link is in the description below, and we had to start on this island-looking thing, but this island is actually peninsula because it has two land connections, which the first one is here, that customs house, and the second one is right here. Another customs house, and we had two power connections at the same time. Those were our only connections that we had when we started here. Our settings are all hard settings. No special rules really, besides one, that once I'm done with everything, the island that sits over here has to be self-sufficient for 20 plus years and try not to die. That includes everything, and the island has absolutely no land connections, so everything is handled by ship or via air when we're done with it. Today, it is March 2004. We started in 1960, and this was our actual starting location. As usual, we started close to the border with a relatively large city that has a mix of different buildings, and if you like these skins on the vanilla buildings, there is a link in the description for that mod collection as well. But this was our starting point, and that city's not very large. It's about 2,000 people, a little more than that, and this was our starting industry, where we started with a little bit of crops and got just a couple trucks bringing in some, clothing for when we needed it. This just existed, so we were able to build the nuclear fuel industry after we've done the research, which this has bankrolled a lot of our activities, but don't be fooled, it is not all that much. Right now, this at least is full, and our factories can consume a nice amount of everything they need, but this can only take you so far because we have grown well beyond this. Let's look at the city real quick. What's going on here? We just have one quick warehouse, and the radio station for the whole republic is all sitting up here, just because we grew this city as much as we could with the space that was available. But even though the nuclear fuel fabrication that we have sitting over here is actually crawling into polluting the city just a little bit, so not all the cities, not all the buildings are currently turned on. But that is fine. This was our construction office for the peninsula part, and it has done a wonderful job. There is really no reason to keep this on anymore, and so I don't know why I did. But there we are. So there's a rail network running here, and there was a hope at some point that we have a ton of gravel being produced here that we can actually export via train. But trust me, that is not a very sustainable path. I even had to turn off the gravel export for this train because it was just blocking our few border connections way too much, and that wasn't working. But it was a nice large industrial setup that's also feeding into a nice cement storage here, and that cement is being exported via ships and has been being exported for a very, very long time. Ships are a big focus in this playthrough, which is why this is a very important harbor. This cargo harbor is directly connected to the repair station. It has that one in range just like that, and we have a ton of steel sitting right here. That is because every single ship line is going through this harbor on the way out, on the way in from the imports and exports to get repaired. Otherwise, those ships will just not get repaired, and that is a very, very large problem. So this is our repair setup currently. We will need another one on the other side of the map, or at least on the north side of the map, probably on the south side of the map too, so that our ships don't have to make stupid detours. A small detour is fine, but stupid detours are definitely not desired. And on top of that, we have a little bit of gravel export here, just via some conveyor belts, and this gravel is actually used to build our island already. It was used for a very long time now. We will probably have a new source relatively soon. This one, it's a little embarrassing, but this is our helicopter construction setup. Why do I have this? I'm not the biggest fan of helicopters because they make your life very easy, but it's the only way to get onto the island. You can't get workers there any other way, and at that point, well, you can just ship in all your materials that you need, and they help a little bit every time we have a small construction going on where we just want to get it done fast and unburden our local construction offices with what's going on there. These guys are wonderful. They have a repair shop sitting in the middle because, again, all of this repair has to be handled at some point, and this is the best way to do that. As long as all construction offices are connected, they get free repairs right away. And we have a couple trucks sitting in here as well because we want them to go out and repair whatever needs to be repaired. Bubo was our first large city, and this one is also a mix of different buildings simply because it's just the style that we wanted to use on the peninsula. This city has three purposes, really. There's a ginormous train station in the middle here, and we have 2 train lines running through this end station, each with 5 or 6 trains that look like this, and they're taking people to the nuclear fuel fabrication facility over here that's also just linked into a couple different heating plants, and then obviously the cement plant that we have sitting over here, plus a couple construction industries. But on the other side, we have, besides work and other helicopter construction setups that we needed out here, we also have a refinery that sits on our only natural resource on the island, which is oil. There's nothing else on the island, so we couldn't have had a different start. There is a small window to export power from here, but it really wasn't big enough to make that happen. But maybe down the road we're gonna make that happen anyways. But this is our refinery. It does have pipeline connections to the border. Right now just one. It probably would not hurt to have a couple extra pipeline connections to get more stuff in, but we have 2 pipeline connections going in, 1 going out, and then a nice little road connection, so we have a little bit of service done on those buildings when required. Ignore the vehicles that are currently broken because we have not set up scrapping yet. That is something that absolutely has to happen. But this is our little fuel refinery, and it is making nice money, but more than that, it is actually giving us enough fuel to power a whole republic, which is quite important if you don't want to have all the imports that you had before, and it makes the distribution relatively easy from right here. Recently, we've added 2 auxiliary tanks over here that are filled from oil that comes from the island, and there will probably be other things that we can throw in there to advance our republic. So, with the helicopters, we were able to create Magic Alley. Magic Alley is just a worker town. There's nothing else here. These are just supposed to do what they're supposed to do when we need to get some work done, and they have done a fabulous job so far. It is on a little tip here that made it easy to actually get something constructed there, and they have built the harbors that powered the Republic up until now. This harbor is just our normal meat and warehouse import over here, as well as construction materials that go in the warehouse. Very important. We have a harbor over here where we receive some of the gravel from our peninsula and also some coal that comes in here, so we can feed the heating plant that sits there. There was another heating plant in this area at some point, but actually this one needs to be demolished at some point because it was feeding the city, but the city just grew a little larger than what this little heating plant can do. So we'll change that when it's appropriate. Down here we have the open storages, and they are currently just supplied with a single ship that's on a dedicated line to wait until unloaded. And one of our biggest problems right now is we just don't produce enough steel. We don't import enough steel. And I am hesitant to add another ship to this. But it probably has to happen at some point because we're going through steel like nothing else. And I will show you why in just a minute when I show you the next expansions. So this was our expansion point for the island. That was absolutely important. And we have a little fuel distribution set up here. This was one of the earliest buildings on the island because fuel is something that you absolutely need to move around. And today we even have a single train right now moving oil and bitumen around from right here, and several distribution offices that are assigned to supply to various locations throughout the Republic, which have done a very, very good job. This is a start of a distribution hub that is supposed to do city goods as well as machine components and a couple things for repair etc. There is a small tunnel here, if you must know. I just had that there, so we are able to use the factory connections on this site if we need to do so. And then these two distribution offices are just responsible for distributing all this stuff. Today, we have no city goods being produced. So no food, no clothing, no electronics, no chemicals, no meat. All of that is still imported, and it will be imported for a while because we just haven't had a chance with the money that we have to expand into those parameters because other things are more profitable, but we are getting to a point where that will become a point. This is where our cement import was happening, but also our vehicle import started here. Today, we are exporting vehicles, and this is the main reason why we need as much steel as we do. And with that is Utopia over here, the first city, the mega city of the Republic. We can probably call this our capital. At some point, we will prettify it a little bit, but this city looks wonderful at night, so we're actually going to let the game do its thing. But this city is currently, and we just had a little death wave because we had too much trash, about 20,000 people strong, with 2 shopping centers in the middle, a tram line that runs on the outside that connects most of the buildings and keeps people relatively happy. There's a booth store, and then there's another giant central transport hub over here, where we have our vehicles currently being blocked by something that I'm not even sure how this happened. This was just fine. Why are you trying to go the wrong way? Was there a collision here that blocked you from doing something you were supposed to do? Probably. That shouldn't happen. Well, no, there's a... Yeah, it's just being complicated. We have a lot of trains running here. We have at least 4 or 5 train lines on these end stations just split out that all do a very nice job to feed into our rail network here, and then fan out to the 6 lines that we have running, plus a through line that allows our vehicle exports and other transportation of cargo goods to come through here. So everything is actually very nicely set up when it's not blocked by that one train, and that was new. I'm glad I saw that. Here's our city. Let's turn this off. Our city, again, 20,000 strong. It's working just fine. We have a couple personal cars sitting down in this general area right here that are responsible for getting a couple things done, and those disco lights exist because we have a wind power plant sitting down here, and sometimes it's annoying, but that is fine. But this is Utopia, and everyone seems to have what they need, so I'm actually quite happy with how this turned out. If you want to watch it, I think it's episodes 20 to 30 where we built mostly this. That was super expensive, and here's a very large construction of a setup that had to be built before we got Utopia up and running, and the distribution hub as well as the technical services are sitting right here to take care of all the trash needs and, snow removal and those things that are part of the city. The shops themselves are hooked up to a forklift network that seems to be able to keep up with the things that we need to move. I haven't seen it cause trouble yet, but I had reports from Patreons and YouTube members that are able to download the saves. It's just part of what I do. They get all the saves and they play along with it sometimes and give me tips. And they've told me that if the city actually gets full, it has a potential of overloading the shops a little bit, especially if your happiness is not high enough. And that could be a problem. Right now it looks fine, so we're going to keep an eye on that to just see what works there. This has been supposed to be the backbone of the financial system on top of the nuclear fuel fabrication. If you haven't followed my What's the Best Industry test, please check it out. I'll try to put it up there somewhere in the video. And nuclear fuel is the best earlier production item that you can throw out because the money that the return on the money that you put in, even if you import all the items, which we are today, is pretty high. But vehicles was the next one. So we have the 2 highest grossing industries for making money, and because we have 20,000 people, this city was built with this in mind. We have 8 vehicle production lines and 2 train production lines sitting here, and these are all the vehicle storages that are supposed to enable us to replace all of our vehicles in the Republic when we do run for 20 years, and until then, and I have been using a lot of these to populate all the different utility buildings that we have, but we're still not done. I haven't even set up scrapping yet, and I'm just getting into setting up our reconstruction offices, which are not as easy as they should be, but that is totally fine. Let's get these guys moved over to where I actually want them. I started having this dummy construction office here, where once this is filled up with the vehicles that I want, I send it out to the actual construction office where I want it, so I don't have to scroll on the map back and forth as much as I have, well, throughout the show. But there you go. We got a couple harbors here, obviously a couple ships. This one is bringing coal in. It's probably way too big. I could replace that with a smaller one, but right now that is bringing coal in for these guys that don't have a different distribution set up right now, but those things will all change relatively soon. Couple harbors. This one I just added. It's not even in episode 55 yet, but this is our oil exporting harbor, so we can bring the oil back to the peninsula for the refinery. But that's what we have here. There are some bauxite mines set up on this side, and they will probably do something at some point, but not yet. I have started a little coal city or coal village up here, but we got distracted. So if you want to know, this is where our resources are. Coal is concentrated down here, and we will have a coal industry on that side, but there's also a lot of coal on this island out here that we may or may not want to tap at some point. But this is part of the future expansion plans. It's just not done yet. There's still a lot more to do, and I'm quite excited to get into this area because this is a really cool shipping harbor, shipping spot for our coal export, and I cannot wait to turn that on. But that's enough for this side, and it does make some money. The only problem that we have is if we look at our current prices for everything for all the years that have passed, and look at our steel, look where we are. For a while it was fine until I really turned on the vehicle production, and now steel just has skyrocketed. There was an event at some point, and it has leveled out a little bit over the last few years, but it's still kind of on the uptrend, not on the downtrend where we want it. And something that has helped recently is the new addition to what we have. Before we do that, maybe this is our power production for the Republic so far, and it's been fine. But we're actually starting to use a lot of the power with the industries that we have, which is this nuclear power plant. It's only producing 19% of what its actual capabilities are, but we only have 3 more connections. That means not all of these are maxed out. And if we look at our overview, which is probably not a terrible idea for right now, so I can even see what our problems are, they are green in most places, but when our factories actually turn on, especially the yellow ones that you see over here, they become a little more annoyed. And then the green one that you see on the outside, that's actually for a coal industry that is not yet turned on, but it will be in the near future. And then we have another power producer right here. This is more for the original side, and the original side you can see is already higher usage. We don't have the biggest power line, but we have the 15 megawatt power line, which feeds into our illustrious rail network, which uses electrical and diesel trains alike. Right now we just have this connection right here, and this is a mess, but this is just the starter area on the island, so I think that's pretty normal. But yes, we get our power in there, but we are getting to a point where we just don't produce enough power anymore for our rail. Don't remember now, we have at Utopia, we have a lot of passenger rail running around there, but it feels like we will have to think about getting a new power source. That can also be nuclear power, but yeah, we have to make that decision probably relatively soon. Over here is our current parking spot for bio waste and fertilizer. It's doing a great job, but there's more to do, as you will find out, and this guy will probably have to start exporting here, because again, if your bio waste is full, that's probably the natural point where you want to have stuff going. We have one train from Utopia coming down here, also dropping off a couple things, and that all works pretty well. We are now entering the area that was most recently built, and I'm actually quite happy with this. It is a sector of 4 cities and a couple of industries, mostly for mining, mostly for iron ore mining, that is completely dependent on public transport. All the cities look kind of like this, where we only have residential buildings. We have probably an end station somewhere and then a bus station somewhere. In this case, I do have a heating plant. We have a fire station in most of them and a small clinic. That's important. And then just a kindergarten right here. But outside of that, not much. And people are happy because the buses are fine. And this is very much related to one of the most recent Republic reviews I did where I've seen this and I loved it. So I wanted to do it because this is the main part of town. We do have the shopping center here. We do have most of the amenities here. The school is here. We have a university. It's not prettified yet. We even have a cableway sitting down here that's supposed to bring some workers out to the nuclear power plant and the recycling industry. Oh, I didn't even show you that. I got distracted. Recycling industry sits right here. I have it connected with rail, but it's already starting to get overloaded a little bit. We fixed that by adding a lot more workers, but this is not going to be the end recycling for the whole Republic. There just needs to be more down the road, which is fine. Metal scrap. There's a lot of metal scrap coming in. But that's our recycling setup. So we have a town here. We have the big town here that produces water for everyone. It has most of the amenities. It has another large fire station right there. It has a repair station that's responsible for all the buses that come through here. Luckily, it's connected to the bus end station that has most of the bus lines going through them, so repairs should be relatively easy. And then we have this rail station, which is wonderful because it's actually passed through, as you can see there, and it takes care of a lot of stuff for us. And people, again, are relatively happy. I can probably see if I can add a couple more attractions to this. But overall, they seem quite satisfied, and I'm happy with how all of this turned out. This little bridge over here, the roundabout that does all the things that we need. And then we get into the mountain. This is hard to see either way, but this is a small town. This is completely dedicated to mountain workers or mine workers, which all these mines, which we have 7 of, are producing iron ore, and I try to keep them relatively full. The problem right now is that we don't do a ton with the iron ore that comes down from the mountain. And when we do, I will increase the number of workers that we actually get there. But if you look at our unemployment numbers, out of 43,000, we're at 2%. That is almost too low. I would like it to be a little lower, a little higher, but that's fine. Apparently, we have 100 people that have no kindergarten access, but those are things that can be easily fixed. But we have 2 5,000 ton aggregate storages for the iron ore to just go in here. And it's very important that you have multiple conveyors and conveyor engine setups because there is a throughput limit on your conveyors when you can actually produce something, especially from the storage. From the mountain, I just have a single line coming from that side and this side, and that seems to work just fine. But yeah, you have to make sure that all works. The waste setup, I try to incorporate here. We have a couple dumpers. We have multiple waste containers over here that are all directly assigned to the different garbage containers. And that is happening because once we have everything running where it can actually run at 100% all the time, this will create so much waste that I won't know what to do with it. Just to produce a little bit of iron. Here's our iron production. 6 iron ore processing plants. Ignore the heating plant, and with the resulting construction waste that we will get in here and the recycling plants right there, plus an actual gravel setup that we have sitting over here, we will produce cement and prefab panels when we get a chance, which right now I don't have coal, so I don't feel really inclined to turn this on yet, but it will become a thing relatively soon. Hopefully, most likely, and I'm excited to actually get that turned on. But as you can see, when these things are running, we churn through a lot of stuff. They could run a little faster, but we churn through a lot of stuff, and all of these containers increase or get filled up relatively quickly, and that's exciting. There was a most recent fix that I realized that just our trash wasn't working, so there's a new trash setup right here, where we feed in our mixed waste into a general separator that feeds it into mixed waste that should be burned. We have a little bit of plastic waste coming out, a little bit of construction waste, and a little bit of metal scrap, and all of that gets into the large incinerator that just puts it into more open storages for waste to have the ash dissipate. And then my probably favorite part of the Republic is the view. This was the most recent village that we added, and the view has everything. To our left, we have the nice view of the nuclear power plant, but far enough away where you don't feel like you are affected by anything. To the right, we have a ginormous harbor set up, and there is, oh, it's currently just leaving that aggregate storage ship with 13 million of 14.5 million of iron on board, which is stored for them right here in this nice harbor setup. And the people, as usual, are happy because they have their own light rail right there to get from A to B. That has been, luckily, working relatively well, and that's exciting. As you can see, even here, public transport is working exactly like I needed to. So that's the Republic. So today, what is going to happen next? Well, you saw the iron problem, and the iron problem is something that I need to fix, and I think a good place for that is because of a lot of space and water access is not iron, steel, is right up here, and it's relatively close to iron. It's really far away from coal, but I would like to have coal ships actually drop off the coal out here, not trains, because they will be too slow, or not, volume will be too slow, and then just have a good frequency of the coal that goes out here and potentially even export a little bit of that. And that will be the next thing after I get coal done. And once we have those things under control, we produce enough steel for our current production, which is, let me tell you, not cheap. If we just look at the last month, consumption of industries, we went through 500 tons of steel, and a steel mill is currently able to produce in vanilla 43 tons. So in a month, we went through a good, well, 12 days? 13 days of steel of a full production steel mill, which is not nothing, but it tells you also that you probably only need 1 or 2 steel mills to run all of this, and I would like to export a little bit of that if we get a chance for that. We do have extra materials available for, there's iron here, no, there's not iron here, there's iron on the island down here that we can use. We have more coal over here. And then there's a little bit more bauxite up there as well, so maybe we have a steel mill and a bauxite mill there. But the bauxite mines are spread out here that still need to be built, and that will all happen probably relatively soon. But that is where we are, that is the plan, and so far things have been okay. We had a trash scare relatively recently that killed, I think, 7,000 people. Just our bio-waste was overflowing, and that caused all types of other trash collections to just not work anymore, and that was quite annoying, but things are better now. And yeah, this is the city that we have. This city doesn't have any monuments. I should fix that. But that is Season X so far. How long is this going to go? We need to accomplish self-sufficiency, and I tell you, boats are not reliable enough to use them because sometimes they just get stuck on the border, so I don't want to rely on boats to give us imports. They're fine for exports, but I don't want to rely on them for imports. So we still have a lot to do before we're at a place where we have all the citizen requirements replaced, where we have all the production requirements replaced. And yeah, just to get to that point, we're probably 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 cities away from that, and I'm not sure that we have the volume that we need to supply all of that. So we need a couple more cities to replenish the resources that we're actually going to consume to make all of that happen. So far we have 5 cities, if we count this area over here with the public transport that has 4 cities as 1 city, because that's kind of what it is. Metros. We have 5 metros. We're gonna have a long fun time here on the channel to get through all those things. Cool. That's what I wanted to tell you. Hope you liked some of the stuff that you saw. Again, if you want to see how everything progressed, you can start in episode 1. Here's the playlist. You can also come out and just become a Patreon or a YouTube member, and then go back to find the links to all the save games that were along the way if you want to check out what problems I have or whatever things are going on there. All of those great solutions, great options to get yourself familiarized with Season X. Then, of course, I invite you to download or to subscribe to the mod for St. Bernard, which is this map, and make your own Season X challenge and just play along if you want. I don't skip a lot. Most of the things that I do, you will see, and most of the problems that I have, I hopefully addressed at some point during that time. Wonderful. Also, If you're new to the channel, I do have a shop now, if that's something you're interested in. Some merch is also down in the link below. So go check that out, and I hope to see you in episode 56 relatively soon. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.